welcome to Demon's Souls. Don't worry, the title will make sense in due time. This is From Software's brutal medieval fantasy action RPG, released all the way back in 2009. Nearly 10 years old now. And the first of what would become their Souls franchise. This being followed by the 3 Dark Souls games as well as Bloodborne. But I'll try and avoid talking about those here. After all, they came later and we're just bothering with this little title. Now the question is, why, nearly a decade after its release, am I bothering to LP it? Well, if we start up a new game and connect to the servers, you'll see exactly why. Online service for Demon's Souls will conclude on February 28, 2018. We're very thankful for the countless players who have enjoyed our title since its release back in 2010. Even after the online service concludes, you will continue to play the game offline. We have listed the features that will cease functioning below. Multiplayer, cooperative, invading other worlds, challenge play, hint messages, other players' bloodstains, wandering apparitions, viewing rankings. So yes, starting on February 28th, the servers will shut down, and honestly, probably the most interesting aspect of this game will cease to be a thing. The game is great on its own, standalone, but it's really the online features, synchronous and asynchronous, that really make it special. And that's why I'm doing this LP now, because if I want to show those off, and I do, I have a rapidly closing window of opportunity. But we'll get to that when we get to it. For now, let's make our character. She shall be a lovely lady knight. Not the knight class. Temple Knight class. This is my preferred starting class. Named Patrice. That's a pretty good name for a holy sort of knight, don't you think? God, I hate this fucking mobile mimic text interface. It is the worst. PS3, what you thinking, bro? As for what class means, it's not overly important. Really all it means is what gear and what stats you start with. The canvas upon which you paint your character. But of course, the canvas itself doesn't really matter in the long run, it matters what you paint. So you can start off as a holy knight, and end up as a clever mage, or a fearsome warrior and end up as a backstabbing rogue. It's your call. That said, it is generally a good idea to choose a starting class that goes with what you at least think you want to do, just to smooth things along. And of course, it would not be an action RPG if you could not customize your character's appearance. I mean, granted, there are plenty of action RPGs where you can, but the good ones generally let you, in my opinion. Sadly, character creation here, while they do give you a whole bevy of options. Yeah, look at that. Inner brow ridge, outer brow ridge. Glabella width is somewhere here, I'm sure. You don't actually have a lot of ability to create good-looking characters in this. I've spent hours hacking away with the meters, looking up videos of other people making characters, and it's impossible to make an even halfway decent-looking character in this, so rather than spend a whole bunch of time doing that, yeah, see what I mean? I'm just gonna hit random a bunch of times until I get something that's workable. Well, it's almost there, except she looks kind of like an insane porcelain doll. Good for horror, but actually, you know what? I kinda like that face now that I think about it in those terms. She looks kinda like a Junji Ito character, when they're being all creepy-like. That's on my mind because of the Junji Ito collection anime that's currently airing. So, in that case, let's just do a few more customizations, changing up that hairstyle from bald to full anime. None of the hairstyles in this look all that good, something they much improved on in later titles, that is for sure. I'm kinda liking the wild look, let's go with that. And give her the full Guy Fieri. Frosted tips? No way, frosted everything, man. Actually, there's one more thing I want to do. You can change the eye color if you go down here. No color selection, instead it's meters, because of course it is. Let's make a real pale folk, I like that. Nice, I'm actually somewhat okay with this character. That's rare for this game. And with that, let's begin.
King Allant XII, by channeling the power of souls, brought unprecedented prosperity to his northern kingdom of Boletaria. That is, until the colorless deep fog swept across the land. Boletaria was cut off from the outside world, and those who dared penetrate the deep fog never returned. But Valarfax of the Royal Twin Fangs broke free from the fog and told the world of Boletaria's plight. That the old King Allant had aroused the Old One, the great beast below the Nexus, from its eternal slumber, and that a colorless fog had swept in, unleashing terrible demons. The demons hunt down men and claim their souls. Those who lose their souls also lose their minds. The mad attack the sane, and chaos reigns. Valarfax spoke of the enticing power of the demon souls. Each time a demon claims a human soul, the demon's own soul is invigorated by the life force. And the power of a mature demon's soul is beyond human imagination. The legend spread quickly. Mighty warriors were drawn to the accursed land, but none have returned. Bjor of the Twin Fangs, Yurt the Silent Chief, Sage Urbane, Skurver the Wanderer, the Sixth Saint Astraea and her knight Garl Vinland, and Sage Freyk the Visionary. The colorless deep fog slowly creeps beyond Boletaria's borders. Humankind faces a slow and steady extinction. The deep fog will eventually swallow all lands near and far. But Boletaria has one final hope. A lone warrior who has braved the baneful fog. Has the land found its savior? Or have the demons found a new slave?
Brave soul who fears not death. I shall guide you. So that you may lull the Old One back to slumber.
And so, we begin with the tutorial. It's not even given a fancy, fantasy-ish sounding name, it's just straight up tutorial. And though we could move forward immediately, although not backward, makes you question how your character even came in here, but you kinda got teleported, so I guess that answers my question. Before we begin to move forward, let's look at what we have. There's a whole bunch of HUD interface elements. We're wearing some heavy armor, a large part of the reason why I enjoy starting as this class. You got style. And then there's a whole bunch more UI elements that it's probably a lot to take in at first, but it's worth doing. This is an action RPG after all, and the numbers matter. So here we can see the items sorted among various categories. Here we have our equipment screen where we can equip items for ready use. All sorts of different slots, and we'll get into them as we go along. The most important thing though, straight away, is that every single item in this game has a description. Typically it just says some generic thing about the item, but occasionally it has some interesting information about the world. World building. Lore. So every time you get a new item, it's worth checking it just to see if it says anything interesting. Like this Talisman of God. A metal crafted amulet which resembles the symbol of the god. Used to cast miracles. Which we do actually have one of that heal spell in the bottom left. But that's all I wanted to go over right here, so let's move forward. A message from beyond. It's a tutorial message. One is standard attack. Yeah, unlike most other action RPGs which typically use, square, triangle, the face buttons for attacks. Demon's Souls opts instead for using the shoulder buttons. And we're going to have to put that tip to use because we've got a bad boy coming up to us. Showing off a mechanic that they're not going to tutorialize for a bit because fighting without it is kind of a pain. Locking on. It's basically Z-targeting from Zelda. A lot of Zelda influence in this game. This guy's sizing us up as we're sizing him up. Whoever makes the first move shall win, so let's let that be us. Alright, and we got two thingies. Not sure what that's about, but surely glowing power coming from someone that we just slayed. Surely that couldn't be a bad thing, right? Now, we've been moving quite slowly, in part because, we're wearing heavy armor, but also because we're just walking, so let's dash for it. And now, almost exactly opposite to what we were just doing, let's bring up our guard, which we can do while walking, because there's another enemy ahead, and this one is considerably less cautious. Fortunately, our shield is sturdy and absorbs all incoming damage, as well as forcing the enemy to recoil, opening him up for a following strike. Although, clearly someone else did not do as good of a job as we did. And yep, here it brings up the lock-on, which you can change between multiple enemies if they do exist. What was that ghost going up ahead? That was weird. And right there you see a good example in this game of why attacking first, while not a bad thing, does have to be done with careful consideration. If you just go in fingers flailing, weapons swinging, like it's say a Ninja Gaiden, you're gonna get your shit wrecked. This game has a very measured pace to the combat. Our way forward is blocked. We'll have to go around. There are some buddies on the other side. We'll have to keep them in mind if we make our way around. And making sure to keep our guard up, of course. There are plenty of friends along the way. Ooh, more grass. Don't you just love munching on grass? I certainly do. So let's do that right now. After all, we picked up a freebie. That's our healing item. We'll be picking up greater variants of it, but Crescent is the most basic variety. Let's actually have a look at its description. I remember it being interesting. A medicinal herb named for the lunar phase. The effect of moon herbs changes according to the condition they're in. Crescent moon herbs are picked when they are very young. So yeah, that's what I mean by the whole greater varieties, the phases of the moon. So we've been led here, guided carefully by the game's firm hand, but taking a fall, that can't be a good thing, right? Especially when we're in such heavy armor? Nope, it's actually fine. Fall damage is a thing in this game, but it's very minute. You have to fall a very long way before you have to start taking a worry. Far more worried we should be of these enemies ahead. Fortunately, we do have even more tricks to deal with them, such as dodging. Fancy backstep and then following attack. That's the warrior's way. We also have a dodge roll, which isn't terribly good. What, you expect us to nimbly leap about while lunking around all this heavy metal plate? Yeah, fat chance, buddy. Perhaps though if we were playing a more agile character we might be able to do that. Food for thought. Anyway, yeah, this is the other side of that gate there. Hi, Mom. Oh, and if you're wondering why we are glowing, it's actually because of that item at our waist, right there. It makes sure that no matter how dark the game gets, we can always see, and that is much appreciated. And in fact, it's not just a nameless thing at our hip, it does actually exist in our inventory. Somewhere, if I can find it. There it is, the Augite of Souls. It's a key item. A stone radiant with the light of souls. The color of the light changes according to the souls in the area. It was made by Jerry, a friend of Sage Frake, who is known for his magical crafts, and is feud with the wizard Newman. Since it's light and easy to handle, it is widely used by travelers. And we have been making good use of it ourselves. But it won't help in combat. Trusty friend shield will, though, that's for sure. And with that, we've run out of ways to proceed. You can check all around, but your way forward is barred. Your way back is, well, not quite barred, but if you thought rolling was tough in heavy armor, don't even try climbing. So let's go interact with the shiny magic rock. It's an archstone. Warp to a new area. Surely this could not go poorly. Well, things seem okay so far. Ah, another weapon in our arsenal. In addition to the light attacks that we've been using, which I'll show off here once more, why not? We also have a much stronger heavy attack. It's also much slower. But if you're facing a beefier enemy, it might just be what you need. We also have yet more defensive techniques, this time only when we have a shield equipped. So in addition to a block, we can also try a parry. This requires fairly precise timing. So you need to be able to read the enemy's movements or know of them already. But if you can and get the timing just right, you can leave them wide open for a resulting riposte. Simply press R1 when they're staggered like that, and you go for the kill with gusto. So if you're one of those action game people who loves parry mechanics, you'll probably like this game. And we'll need that for dealing with the tougher enemies. Yeah, the fact that he's glowing blue, not a great sign. In fact, if we try and attack him with our regular attacks, we'll find them not having too much of an effect at all. So let's try out that parry then. Much better. I have to say, I'm impressed just how good at parrying I still am, although I say that with these basic-ass enemies here. It's been like a year since I played any Souls game, so I'm surprised I'm doing as well as I am. If, by any chance, you're not good at parrying, but you still want a bit of an edge against the tougher, bigger enemies, you can try two-handing your weapon. This increases its damage and gives it a completely different moveset. Especially with the bigger, heavier weapons, oftentimes their two-handed moveset is far superior to their one-handed. The trade-off for losing your ability to block with the shields. As we can see here, assuming he doesn't get in a chance to attack, sorry, that's just due to my poor pacing, we can kind of just spam here and just deal with him pretty easily, even breaking his own shields. Let's stick with one-handing for now, though. I like my parries. So, with the character we are now, we mostly only have one set of equipment. But if we go into our inventory here, you can see that you have 2 slots per hand, and in fact, in our right hand, we do have another item equipped. By pressing left and right, we can switch the equipped item. This is a Talisman of God, which I showed off earlier. Let's make some magic. God-approved magic, I should say. Not that heretical sorcery, no, these are God's words. And that's totally okay. It healed us without having to consume grass. Oh, and yeah, this game has the Havok's physics engine. You like objects flying apart sillily whenever you crash into them? This game might also be for you. Hey, and here's what I mentioned earlier. That is the next tier up for grass, a bit of a beefier heal if you need it. And yep, if you have a talisman equipped, you can use a miracle. I just showed that off. I'm ahead of the game. Quite literally. So not all enemies will use melee, some will come at you with ranged weapons, almost exclusively. Even when it's not really to their benefit, like maybe he forgot his sword at home, I don't know, but your plan A clearly isn't working, buddy. I feel like you'd be more effective if you came at me with your bare fists. Well, let's end his life. Alright, more Crescent Moongrass. Wonderful. And an unknown soldier's soul. You know, I have an idea of what that blue light coming from the enemies might be. Let's have a look at that description. The remnants of a nameless soldier's spirit that remained in its corpse. Use it, and the souls will be added to your stock. Even if you leave this be, it will only become nourishment for demons. In which case... So yes, the blue light we've been picking up anytime we killed an enemy, it's souls, human souls specifically. Humans killed by that demon, that you then obtained by killing them. It's kind of like that question. If you feed a human to a pig, and then eat the pig, are you yourself a cannibal? Also, is that boiling for a furnace, or is that like a gross meat stew? It's honestly hard to tell. This game's not a looker, that is absolutely for sure. Texture work, model work, not great. Even so though, some of the areas in this game visually are impressive, and that just shows you the strength of the art design, the art direction. See, this is why I love parrying. You don't have to trudge forward slowly and carefully. You can just sprint forward and react to everything on the fly, and it's really fun. That right there was a backstab. Just do it by doing a light attack at the enemy's back. The angle can be a bit difficult, but once you get used to it, it's not hard, and it's a good way of killing those common trash enemies. Alright, it's time we find our way barred by a wall of fog. Well, surely entering this could not be a bad idea. No, hey, we're fine. These act as something of checkpoints, I guess you could call them. The game has an aggressive autosave. It saves after everything you do. So there's no save scumming here. Instead, the checkpoint's more in, hey, you made a good amount of progress in this level. Good job, buddy. I'm not talking to you. So you should definitely note whenever you see one. Hey, more Half Moon Grass. We have so much healing available to us, and we've barely taken any damage. We're really skilled, aren't we? I feel like we could tackle whatever the game throws at us with no issues at all, don't you? Oh, hey, it's another fog wall, but we've seen these aren't dangerous at all. Oh. Well, it's fine, come on. We've had so much success so far. How bad could this boy be? Yeah, look at that, he can barely— oh. Never mind. Try and dodge it maybe? That works. The fact that we have so much heavy armor might be to our detriment here. Well, you know what? We have a big, heavy polearm, I'm sure— oh. Yeah, wow, he has a lot of health, doesn't he? Even two-handing doesn't help much. Oh my, this is certainly worrisome. Well, that's fine, just gotta get the time to heal and we'll be a-okay, I'm sure. Just sit back, chomp on a oh. Well, it was a good game, but it's over, folks. You can see why this game is as contentious as it is. But for what it does, I like it. No, of course, that death, you can't avoid it, as I'll be showing off, but if you're playing for the first time, you're almost guaranteed to die there. It's part of the design that you do so. Now, as I just said, it is very much avoidable, and I will be showing that off, but not with this character. So, one other thing I want to do with this Let's Play to make it that extra little bit special is have more viewer interaction than I typically do with these playthroughs. Demon's Souls is a surprisingly open game, as we'll be seeing. There are a number of places to explore, and you can go do them in pretty much any order, whichever ones you feel like. And there's a whole bevy of items to use to get through them to survive. There's swords, there's axes, there's magic, there's bows. So many different and varied pieces of equipment to use. And rather than just showing off the ones that I think are good, I felt that having viewer interaction would be fun. So rather than going through in my preferred area order using my preferred items, I'm going to leave that up to you to decide. After each update, I'll put up a poll asking what area you want me to do and what items you want me to use in that area. And so, let's boldly strive forward into the demon-infested lands of Boletaria together. I hope you'll enjoy it.